Every club.
Every day.
The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Palace podcast presented by the Global Sports Network. And I am your host today, Dan Tanner, and with me is the illustrious, well-spoken individual, Wale Bakare. How are you doing, big man? Once you stop laughing.
No. That was some praise there. I'm thinking, is that me?
Yeah, I know. I've got to give you some credit where credit's due, man. Yeah.
Thanks, Paul. I'm really good, actually. You know, it's been the last couple of days. I've been a lot of debates about the Ballon d'Or, about we should have done this, we should have won that. But it's great that it's dying down a bit now. And then there was the United sacking of Eric Ten Hag. So it's been very interesting days. And then, of course, you know, for the last couple of days, we've been talking about a Crystal Palace win. That hasn't happened at all this season. So it's been a great couple of days, to be honest.
It's been a very, very busy football week, especially. So let's crack on. So as we have the League Cup game today, I'd like to get some of your thoughts for Villa, because I went through this with Joe and Finn yesterday. So your kind of thoughts on how Palace should probably approach it, or sort of, do we want to go for a cup run?
Well, a cup run is always good, and it's always good for the confidence of the players, especially in the Carabao Cup. Every season, now and again, you find teams that you don't expect, having a great cup run. I remember many years ago, Cardiff, I think, played in the final against Liverpool. I remember Swansea winning the League Cup in the days when they had Michu and Hernandez. I think they defeated Chelsea in the semi-final. There's been teams that you don't expect having the odd run in the Carabao Cup or in the League Cup, as it were. So it would be great, if Palace can put together a cup run. It's been a while, to be honest, and I'm sure it would be great for the fans, would be great for the club. Villa tonight will be a difficult one. They've had a relative good start to the season. They are at the top of the all-new UEFA Champions League, arrangement. They have done good so far, in the games in the league, especially when they play at home, and they will be playing at home tonight. So it's one of those games where Palace, of course, would relish the underdog tag, so to speak. They will, go against Villa, give it a go, try to get the Villa players rattled, try to create an unease in the atmosphere at the Villa Park, and maybe it might just be one of those games where things just align for Palace. And to be honest, there's been I cannot particularly mention a game this season where Palace have been generally poor. It's just been the passing the final third, not clicking the way they want, or not putting away chances. If the game tonight against Villa turns out to be one where things just align, it might be a great game for Palace. But more than the result, the performance also will be looked at. But Villa at home, Villa away rather, for Palace will definitely be a tough game.
Definitely, Villa away is always going to be fun. They are, I think, top of the form chart as well. They put a very good squad together. I think I was talking about it yesterday. And so, yeah, Villa away, we had lower league opposition for the first couple of rounds, and we still, I think, only just scraped through. And our performances in the league as you mentioned, we haven't exactly been completely and utterly throttled. It's just been a lack of concentration, or a very, very slick pass, or something that's gone into the back of the net or bypassed the entire team. So, I really couldn't agree with you more there. It's going to be an interesting game. We want Palace to go through, obviously, but if we go out, we're going out to one of the best teams in the country at the moment. So I think we are that's probably all we can really say about that for the moment until the team sheet actually comes out, which might be in about an hour or so from time of recording. So they might put out a reserve team and we go and stomp them. For all we know, we'll check out in the morning.
You never can tell. I just wonder whether I'm not entirely sure Palace's lineup will be any different from what we've come to expect. The games against Norwich and QPR, the vast majority of the first team players started. Nketiah, I think, started both games. Eze started. Munoz, although there were some injuries at the back at the time. So there were changes in the back three, but you would expect the usual suspects, to be in the lineup. For Villa, maybe they might make some changes. Maybe John Duran might be starting up front, but we his exploits in front of goal is well documented. It's just one of those games where Palace would need to put in a great shift. We've seen from the players that they can do that. They can grind out results even against, maybe attacking better sides, attacking wise. We saw it during the weekend against Tottenham. Tottenham threw everything at Palace, tried to get the equalizer, but the boys dug deep, defended well. Anderson made some fantastic saves, and as I said, if everyone's at the top of their game tonight, if Eze, for example, is at the same form it was, during the weekend, I'm sure that Villa would not find it easy. And just as you said, maybe we might just be in for a shock result tonight.
That's all we can hope for. And on that note, let's take a moment to thank our lovely provider here at Zencaster for allowing us to use their product to create these lovely podcasts everybody keeps listening to. Here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencaster came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the description to learn more about Zencaster. And with that, we shall move on to the next subject we're going to talk about. As Wale has alluded to, Palace finally got their first win of the season, which we are all ecstatic about, having a dogged, backs to the wall, giving it everything we've got win over Spurs at home. So, Wale, do you think we could carry on, keep this momentum going, as we have Wolves and Fulham in the next couple of games, who, from what I've seen, Wolves are probably the most unlucky team in the Premiership at the moment. Everything that could go wrong in a game has gone against them. And you've got Fulham that have been subject to some very, very late goals. And I mean like 90 plus 5, 90 plus 7. So do you think we can carry on this momentum before we start playing the big boys again?
Well, it's actually very important, and I think so, or should I would best describe it as I'm hopeful. Remember, after the very sad, terrible start to the Premier League season, as far as results are concerned, I did say ahead of the Tottenham game, when I wasn't feeling so confident about the result against Tottenham, especially after how well they played against United, I did say that the couple of games before the games against City, Arsenal, and Brighton, would be important games, and those are games where Palace can get results. And lucky for us, we got result against Tottenham. So I'm really hopeful that we can carry on and get the result against Wolves and Fulham. Wolves, naturally, these are teams that are around Palace's stature when you talk about the Premier League. And we've always said, aside from the top 6 teams in the league, anyone could beat anyone. Amongst the other 14 teams in the league. Just over the weekend, we saw Ipswich take a 2-0 lead against Brentford when no one gave them a chance. Although Brentford fought back to get the victory eventually, but with the teams below the top 6, anything could happen. So Wolves and Fulham are teams that Palace will back themselves, to get a result against. Wolves, yes, haven't been lucky with results this season, but they've also, failed to put away their chances in some games. And if they still are unable to, find their scoring boots, although they got two very important goals in their last game towards the end of the game against Villa, but they definitely that definitely is a game that Palace will look at and say, yes, we can get a result. It's just about putting in the performance. It's about making sure that you show up. It's about making sure that you create the chances. We've heard from the best in the business. They say you just need to create the chances, make sure your strikers are occupying the right positions, and the goals will go in, and you will get the results. And that's what Palace need to do. Wolves and Fulham are definitely games that Glasner will be saying to those boys, we definitely need to get results, because there's really no telling what can happen in that stretch of games against City, Arsenal, and maybe Brighton, which is the next 3 games to come. But results against Wolves and Fulham will be very important. Fulham, they've had a relatively good start to the season. They can play good football. We know that about Fulham. They've got great players. They've got good experience in their side. Raul Jimenez, is a very tricky striker. He's had a good start to the season. They've got Andres Pereira in the midfield. There is the ever-present Adama Traore, who, for some reason, made up his mind to ensure City, win the game when they played some weeks ago, because he could have buried a couple of chances, but then that's the typical Adama Traore story. So I'm hoping it will be in exactly that form, when they play Palace, missing chances. But those really are games that Palace would be backing themselves to get a result, and the result in those games will be very, very important.
Yeah, because I've been sort of half paying attention to Wolves, like in Match of the Day and things like that. They can score. They have no problem scoring. They have no problem moving the ball around. It just seems to be they have the worst luck. Every single decision that goes against them. There was one, I think the last few minutes against City, where they could have actually nicked a point, but then John Stones gets his very controversial goal. I'm trying to remember if it was handball or offside. I can't remember, but I remember that it's just absolute pandemonium at the end of the game. It's like it's been a hard fought battle from both sides, and then the ref just goes, "Yeah, we'll just give it to City." It's just
they felt that Bernardo Silva was impeding the goalkeeper. What's that goalkeeper now? Is he also Sal Matar Cells?
I think it's still the Portuguese.
They've changed goalkeepers. So they've changed goalkeepers a lot. I think he's also Isar, I guess. Anyway, so they felt Bernardo Silva, was impeding their goalkeeper, and but I don't know. It wasn't. Yeah, it's also Isar. That wasn't the case. Yes, Silva was in an offside position, but I personally don't think it was impeding the goalkeeper. They had a great game. They could actually have scored before that City winner. I think Semedo had the chance where it could have buried and failed to. They had some breakaways, but yeah, you're right. They haven't been very lucky this season.
They've had the
but
worst
they also
luck.
haven't been, putting away their chances. I hope they wouldn't, when they play Palace.
Yeah, I was looking up some of the results for the last few weeks and stuff like that. They've been like 2 or 3-0 up at half time, and then suddenly it just all collapses, or they've got the result, and then they go and concede in the last few minutes. And it's very much the same way with Fulham. They got done very, very last weekend, 90+7, 90+6 maybe. They had Anderson, Finn's favourite, getting sent off, straight red. It wasn't pretty. And his argument afterwards didn't exactly help out. So these teams are not in the greatest form, but you've also got to take into, on the other hand, that Palace aren't in the greatest form either. We've only just won our first game. We've only basically been losing 1-0 or sort of drawing 1-1 and things like that. So we have the opposite problem of we can't score, and these teams can score, but they just can't defend. So it could be a lot of fire and ice kind of mentality, especially the way that Glasner kind of sets up fairly defensively first, and then try and hit them on the counter attack and be sort of have these ball winning defensive midfielders just to sort of put their body on the line and just to sort of bully any playmaker that's in the that dares to come close to them. You also add in the very weird zonal marking. I'm going to keep bringing this up until he stops doing it. So that we sort of have this very annoying habit of leaving centre forwards with 3 miles of space to deal with in any direction. So it could be a sort of big result thriller where it's like 5-3 or something, or it's just going to be terrible 1-1 draws or something. But that's football, and that's why we keep coming back every week. So, is there anything else you want to add? Anything about Fulham?
Well, I was just going to say that the game tonight against Villa will give us a better idea of where Palace are at. Of course, depending on the lineup. Although, as I said earlier, the expectation is that there will be a strong lineup. Against Tottenham, Palace should their doggedness, should their grit, should that they could grind out a result. They will want to be more imposing in games against Wolves and Fulham. However, results will be the most important, as well, because those are games that Palace want to be getting points from. Palace have dropped points in games where they would back themselves to get points. Normally, Brentford, the first game of the season, West Ham was a game that Palace did look like they could get a result from, but ended up, throwing things away. Leicester was another one where, we found ourselves 2 goals down very early and then had to claw a result back eventually. So there's been many winnable games or that we expected Palace to get a win in where they've dropped points. So Fulham and Wolves will be games that it will be very crucial that 3-4 points minimum gotten in both games.
I think we have to kind of win both of them, really. These are ones, as you mentioned earlier, the Brentford and the West Ham games, very much in the same vein of these are ones that we have to win and start getting results now, as it's now will be 10 games into the season. So a better part of a quarter of it's over. And because we have Brighton, City and Liverpool, I think, in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So, yeah, we have to kind of get these before we have to start paying attention to the big guys again. So, and with that, I think it's not a bad place to stop and thank our lovely network that also allows us to do these things. This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day. And then we move on to our last section of the podcast today. And as tomorrow is Halloween and it is the creepy, spooky season, I thought we should probably have a little look at some ghost or / creepy stories from the footballing world. Doesn't necessarily have to be Palace, but if you know of any that have come up, researching it today, there have been some fun ones and some fairly depressing ones as well. So, Wale, do you want to go first or do you want me to go?
No, I'll let you go first. I'll let you go first.
Cool. Right. One I did find for Palace is the story of apparently Selhurst Park is haunted by the ghost of a former goalkeeper. And it's not Kiri or Speroni or anything like that. That we just keep having to. We want a good goalie again. But no, this is the story of Billy Colander, who made 225 appearances between 1923 and 1932. But where the story gets grim is that, however, when his fiancée Ella Lisby died from polio in 1932, Billy was overcome with grief and took his own life at Selhurst Park just 2 months later, which it's very heartbreaking. The story also goes on to say that he failed to report to training one day, and his body was discovered hanging in one of the stands with his pockets containing letters and a photograph of Ella. And it's also said in recent years that the ghost of Colander lingers inside the ground after dark. Just a very, very
Yeah,
very, very sad story. Yeah, and it just really got to me, kind of the things of like that's devotion for you. But yeah, that's essentially the only Palace one I could find. There's probably more, but Google wouldn't help me find any more.
No, it's tough actually,
Yeah.
It's tough actually, and then you find all these stories and you're not even sure whether they're true, and you're wondering, is that
I had to double check at least 2 or 3 times just to make sure.
is that you're wondering, is that something someone made up? And but I don't know. But yeah, that was a scary one.
Yeah.
I don't like ghost stories. I tell you what, I've never been able to. However old I grew, I just never liked ghost stories. No.
Oh no. Like any of these movies or video games or anything, it's just like, nope, I'm not doing that.
No way. I'm just really, just making sure that I've got, because see, I had to like go and check whether my story is in someone's fiction or whether this team even exists. It says it's a story about Blackthorn Rovers. I just wonder whether that exists. I know there's Blackthorn Rovers, but I'm sure they find themselves at the very lowest pyramid of
probably very
football
far
at the
down,
moment.
one of those 10th tier somewhere clubs. Yeah.
Well, the story goes that their star striker James McKenzie, sometime in the autumn of 1933, stayed back to practice free kicks, and despite the fact that he was warned about the impending terrible weather, he said he was just going to stay for another 5 minutes. He said that to the groundskeeper. Anyway, the story adds that the lightning struck the crossbar while he was retrieving a ball from the goal, and as he touched the metal post, the electricity surged through him. And it was said that his final words to the groundskeeper was that he was never going to let the team lose at home, and this was going to be the team's fortress. Anyway, it is the belief that ever since it's been the 12th man for the team, and there's been some of the fans who've claimed to have seen a figure warming up, especially when the team has been trailing. Well, we know obviously from where the club are at the moment, or where the club aren't at the moment, that maybe it hasn't really been their fortress, but I, it's just the fact that there's been fans saying we've actually been seeing him warming up when we've been trailing. I'm never going back to that stadium if I see that.
You get the willies, like, whoa, there's a spot, tingle goes down your back, like, nope.
I'm never going back if I ever see that. No way.
Oh, no, because after doing research for this, there are loads of stories of like sort of cursed stadiums and stuff. Apparently, the new Southampton one was considered cursed for better part of a decade. The reason being is that they decided to build it on an old graveyard. So I think 2010, something like that, I think it was, and their form and their position started to wane down and things like that. So they started to half blame it on this curse. They went through 3 managers in 8 months until they finally got relegated, and then they had to bring in a witch, a bona fide witch, to cleanse the stadium to try and get rid of their bad luck, essentially.
How do you tell a bona fide witch? What does a bona fide witch look like?
I think you can actually register as a witch. You can put it down, I think, in the census as a religion. I think it's a religion, sort of as Wicca.
Well, I'll leave you to that.
Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure you can. There's just been fun ones. Apparently in Barcelona, there's a house or a villa that if you live there as one of the players, like when new transfers, apparently you're going to be a flop.
Ooh.
And Coutinho stayed there, was a flop at Barcelona. Vermaelen stayed there.
Oh, well, those were flops.
They were flops at Barcelona, so it was like, this villa is cursed, and just that's the end of it.
Those were flops. No. Vermaelen more than Coutinho. Vermaelen it was there for so many years and barely made any appearances.
I think he practically got injured the first game or early games he went out, and he was out for the season and never ever got back to being that world-class centre-back that he was at Arsenal.
He did strike me like one of those footballers who just, put all their body on the line, launched into tackles, sort of like Phil Jones at United. It was like that, and he just kept getting injured. Although, I don't know. Vermaelen was, of course, a better class than Phil Jones. Sorry. I just thought...
Yeah.
I thought Jones was more brute than, more brawn than brain, as they put it.
Yeah, he's just brick house, just like, I'm not going anywhere. If you're going to go through me, I'm not going to chase you, but I'm just going to get in your way, kind of thing. But a lot of these other like curses and things like that, they seem to be, a lot of them are in sort of African football as well. It was just like very very sort of putting hexes and curses on teams so they don't win. Putting
there's a lot of stories about.
It's like, oh my god! It was like
there's a lot of stories about African football and jerseys, and when we wear this jersey, we never win. I remember Nigerians always felt once the Super Eagles had the all white jersey on, they never won. And I think there were times when the team would file out in the jersey and guys would go, oh God, why are they wearing this? And a very memorable one was the 2000 Africa Cup of Nations final. It was hosted by Ghana and Nigeria then, but then the final was played in Lagos between Nigeria and Cameroon, and it went through to penalties. Victor Ekpeba he did miss the penalty. It was one of those penalties we hit the crossbar a couple of times with VAR.
One of them.
With VAR, I'm sure it would have been a goal. But for some reason, he also had his hands on his head. So I'm sure the referee just felt, well, you missed it. And then,
he missed it. He just went, nope, I'm just going to give up on that one. So, yep, I'll take that.
And I've seen so many games, with the Super Eagles wearing the white, the famously cost white jersey. And, they never won the game.
Unless there is any other stories we can think of, I think that's not a bad place to end it there on our little Halloween special. So thank you, Wale, for putting up with this. I know it wasn't your favourite subjects, talking sort of the ghost stories and...
No, it wasn't. I'm already worried about going upstairs now. No, it wasn't.
We're going to make sure I turn all the lights on.
All right.
Well, thank you very much again, Wale, and thank you for any listener out there, give us 5 stars. It helps us get recognised and gets us on the algorithm, because we want to get as many people listening to this as humanly possible. So check us out on Twitter. We have now started to put our sort of stuff up on YouTube. So hopefully in the next couple of days, I'll start getting up on there as well. So until then, goodbye and good luck.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.